Is Disney something you recommend to family?
As far as families watching it or their portrayal of the family?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Families watching, I think yes, again, in this classic kind of sense, you kind of said or alluded to earlier that like everything else in our culture that has become totally woke and nonsensical, Disney has certainly done that in ways. So I would caution against those kind of things. If we're losing the sense of right and wrong, and if we're losing the sense of like truth, then it becomes a bit more problematic to just sit a kid down in front of Disney, whatever. As far as it's interesting too, though. Like I think the portrayal of the family in Disney movies is very weak.
Mm-hmm.
The portrayal of particular familial relationships is quite strong, but the family unit is not really portrayed at all.
You might get to it, like Sleeping Beauty, for instance,
at the end,
Snow White, like it's moving to that. But
like, look at Beauty and the Beast. Yep. There is no mother, and Belle has no mother. Aladdin, Jasmine has no mother, and Aladdin has no parents.
Yeah.
I believe Pocahontas' mother isn't around. Her father is for sure.
Yeah.
Like Lion King,
Cinderella,
mother, they're both there in Lion King. Cinderella, stepmother. Hunchback of Notre Dame, he's an orphan. He's orphaned by his mother. You know, he's left at the church. I'm sure there are, like, what other ones are we? Like,
even a newer one, I suppose, like Frozen. There are a unit, but the parents go away. It's
dead.
really just the two sisters.
Yep.
It's interesting that it's a family friendly kind of, the idea as a family friendly thing.
Even like, Finding Nemo, is that Disney and Pixar, or is that just Pixar? But like the dad goes out to find Nemo, right? Like there is
It might be. Yeah, I mean, this fascinating observations that one. Disney is like about, trad Disney is about like moral truths and for the family, and yet there's no God really, and there's no family. Yeah. And so it does this kind of
it's a very qualified family.
Yeah, exactly. But the folks away from the family relations, I suppose. Even
like Little Mermaid, there is her mother's not around. It's just her father.
Yeah, and maybe that's because kids, kids have had enough of the parents anyway, and so there's a focus on like it's just them anyway.
But again, it's weird because now that I'm thinking about it, like with the same thing as God's presence or lack thereof, it doesn't strike me as
problematic
in the sense that I don't think there's an agenda behind it. Like and maybe that's the best way to explain my thought on it. With the absence of God, it doesn't seem that there's like an anti-religious, agnostic, atheistic agenda that's being foisted upon people. And the same thing with like the absence of the intact like family unit. It doesn't seem that there's an agenda that's being
and maybe that's one of the faults with current Disney or any kind of thing today. It has a sort of propagandist aspect to it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we all expect something to have a propaganda aspect. So we all expect like, well, what is it really telling us?
Yeah.
Whereas traditional Disney was just telling stories, and that's what life was about anyway.
Yeah.
I think we have a general suspicion of anyone that's not us, basically. And we assume they must be doing something or trying to get something from us. I think that's true for Disney. And then so it ends up being this, well, look, either you are really explicit about the God stuff and everything else, or like you're really opposed to it, as opposed to just kind of taking things naturally in that way. And I think Disney at its best is, it is a mirror, maybe this is right, it's a mirror of the culture, such that back when there was the Protestant kind of American culture with good and evil and these things and redemption and finding true love and all of this, it was reflecting that. But now people want to play around with things, and they expect moral lessons to be driven down your throat, as opposed to just presented in their naturalness, even with some fantastical elements to it.
Father Jacob-Bertrand, would you say that you're optimistic about this subscription appeal?
No.
Would you say that you're optimistic about anything?
No.
Well, I am. Folks, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. Cheers.